Hey everybody, we've made it to Module 11. Module 11, we're going to talk about countermeasures. We finally get a chance to solve the problem at last. And as far as we are in the C4 process, this is step 7, and step 8, formulate and evaluate, and then plan and implement countermeasures. All part of the C4 process. We're moving from cause into countermeasure now. And a countermeasure is just an action which, when taken, is going to correct a problem at its root cause. And if it corrects the problem at its root cause, problem shouldn't come back. Now, most of the time you have a problem, you're going to have to put some short-term countermeasure in place just to contain it for immediate effect. But we're pretty good at that, but we're not very good at going back and doing the more detailed analysis that we got to have to make sure that we hit that root cause. So we see a lot of problems happen and we slap some kind of Band-Aid on it, we keep on running, and we never take the time to go back and look because we're so busy and we get caught up. So it's up to us in our role as coaches and leaders to pull back on that whenever there's a problem, really try to understand what happened, get to that root cause so we can put a permanent countermeasure in place. There are 3 yellow blocks on this one. You can see we've been through the concern, which is the blue. We've been through that root cause analysis piece, which is red. And now we've got formulate and evaluate the countermeasures and plan and implement those countermeasures. And part of that is also standardize this new process. And then we use that to teach everybody what that new process is. So when we get collecting data, we're going to get consistent data because everybody's doing the work the same way. So we're going to roll these 3 phases or these 3 stages or steps into this module. So our objectives: develop a plan to contain the spread of the problem in your workplace, define objective evaluation criteria to use in evaluating the feasibility and potential effectiveness of countermeasures, develop at least 5 alternative countermeasures for every root cause of a problem, where we're going from 5 whys to 5 ways. Evaluate countermeasures using multiple criteria to select the best overall option to solve a problem. And then finally, we're going to plan the implementation of a countermeasure, all wrapped up in this. So I'll go over the 6 countermeasure steps first. We'll talk about containing, then selecting evaluation factors, then formulating those countermeasures, and building creativity with 5 whys to 5 ways, evaluating countermeasures, and finally planning and implementing. And a big chunk of this is going to be standardized work, which is part 2. We did standardized work in an earlier module, but now we're going to come back and show you how you can use that same set of worksheets for doing some what-if analysis and evaluating countermeasures using these tools. So our 6 steps, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, same thing we just talked about on the sequence. Containing, selecting evaluation factors, formulating, evaluating, planning, and implementing. So containing means when we discover a problem, we want to make sure that it doesn't affect anything else. So we want to lock it down, put it in a cage, make sure that it doesn't affect anybody else. Containment is a huge issue in automotive because if they find a defect, that they run such large batches, it usually means lots and lots of parts have this defect. So that's the purpose of containing it, so we don't let any bad parts escape to a customer. We typically see this much more in manufacturing than you might in any kind of service, but what Domino's did with pizza delivery, they put a containment process in place to make sure that a bad pizza order never gets to the customer. So they double check and triple check and quadruple check, and sometimes it still doesn't work. So that might be on the customer, that might be on Domino's, but everybody is trying to prevent a problem from spreading or prevent a problem from reaching a customer. And the key thing is the quicker we can find that problem, we can stop the process, we can fix it, and then we can turn it back on so that we minimize the chance of producing multiple defective parts. So we got a couple of pre-containment strategies in the Jidoka management system. It's really about self and successor checks, and we'll talk more about these in later modules, but self and successor checks just is built into the standardized work, where before a team member does work, they check what they got to do, they do the work, then they check their own work before they pass it down, and then the next person who picks it up, the first thing they do is check it, then they do their work, and then they check their own work. So it's this series of disciplined self and successor checks should minimize the chance of passing defects down through the system. An and-on system is an alert system. So if there is a problem that gets discovered, we activate the and-on system. Sometimes it's a cord that you pull, sometimes it's just a visual board where you put a particular colored post-it note on it. But it's all designed to say, I've discovered a problem, here's where it is, I need help. And somebody has to respond to that call for help. If they don't, then you don't really have an and-on system. You just have some worthless BS. We also want C4 cards and worksheets in here because that's how we're going to capture every problem. That's how we're going to make sure that we solve those problems. In the next video, we're going to be talking about selecting evaluation factors.